This is Terrence Andre Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions coming to you with an article I read from Vice.com, and it's dealing with housing, but something that was just actually disturbing and also interesting at the same time. As always, I'm put a link inside the description. Titles always catch my attention. Gig economy company launches Uber, but for evicting people. A company called Civil, says evicting people is the fastest growing money making gig due to COVID-19. Dive right in. All right. Since COVID-19, many Americans fall behind in all aspects, reads the website copy. The button below this statement is not for a GoFundMe or a petition for calling for rent relief. Instead, it's following call to action from a company called Civil, being hired as eviction crew. They have a video, image of them doing this. During a time of great economic and general hardship, Civil aims to be essentially Uber, but for evicting people, seizing on pandemic-driven nosedive in employment and huge uptick in number of people who can't pay their rent. Civil aims to make it easy for landlords to hire process servers and eviction agents as gig workers. Interesting. Now, again, as an investor and the landlord, that does sound, a good service, and things are coming out. You definitely need this. But when you think about how many people are part of the moratorium and how many people lost their employment, it's just a little sad at the same time. Lena Duncan, a Chicago-based paralegal, also participating in housing activist, saw a Craigslist post from Civil while searching for jobs. The ad alarmed her. It's effed up that she said, who will be drawn to gigs like furniture hauling or process serving for a company like Civil, evicting fellow workers. So in this case, they're saying that it's a messed up situation where people actually have to, these are working class people, you can keep your rent. In his Craigslist ads posted across the country, Civil explains the opportunity plainly. There's plenty of work due to the dismal economy. Unemployment is at a record high, and I talked about before, I did a video before about the mom and pop investor, how they're affected behind this as well. And we don't, you don't have these bailouts and different aspects. The devastation of a pandemic and looking for self-motivated individuals with positive attitudes. Fast-growing money-making gig due to COVID-19, its website says. 1,000 process servers are needed in the coming months due to courts being backed up and judges that needs to be served to defendants. It's well true. The website also featured a quote attributed to the New York Times. Too many people stop paying rent and mortgage thinking they will not be evicted. A search reveals that this phrase hasn't appeared in the Times. The company did not respond to requests for comment or a source for this quote, but the mention to the Times has since disappeared from the company. At first glance appears to be some kind of Nathan for you esque prank, assisting precarious to vulnerable people, but Civil is connected to a larger and real gig economy company called OnQual. So it's just whatever, which describes itself as an app that provides on-demand task service to non-urban communities beyond main city areas. On other more believable TaskRabbit-esque apps like Lawn Fixer, Clean Quick, and Move Quick, given the fact that it's advertising all over the country and that OnCall, though not popular, does exist, it seems as though Civil actually is an attempt to simplify the process of evicting people who cannot pay their rent during a pandemic. To put the business on OnCall more simply, Ice-T said in the Parent Cameo video, it's basically Uber for side hustle jobs. You dig it? Ice-T's representatives did not respond to a request for comment. Another vertically shot selfie video for Omarosa Newman offers generic words of congratulations on OnCall CEO Paul Francis on his app. Ad removed. Mrs. Newman is not associated with Civil. As Vice, the video is certainly a cameo and should be credited as such. The Civil apps lacks the high-profile cameos from Ice-T or Omarosa in negative reviews in the Google Play and App Store. Users complain about a hidden $35 enrollment fee to access the platform and of lack of work once signed up. At the time of writing, Civil and OnCall did not return requests for comment, but did appear to block the office IP address from visiting oncall.com. Interesting. There's a federal ban on evictions declared by the CDC, but landlords are still attempting to press on. Penalty for violating the ban, which can include a combination of fines and jail time. Civil did not respond to a question about how the company ensures evictions are legal, Though based on the terms of service, it appears to pass all risk on to the companies using its platform, stating that it simply provides lead generation to independent contractors that doesn't actually carry out the work itself. A recent CNN report showed the heartbreaking reality of working in evictions. Francisco Muniz, a mover for a landlord in Houston, cries as he empties an elderly woman's apartment. Maybe today it's her, tomorrow it's me, he told the reporter. The Metropolitan Tenants Organization in Chicago operates a hotline to support tenants dealing with difficulty in paying rent, as well as March than we did during the same time period last year. Phil Devon, an eviction prevention specialist at MTO, told Vice they received over 400 calls on illegal lockouts alone. It's very dishonest, Devon said of Civil. It's like, oh, don't call us a hitman. We don't pull a trigger. We just connect you with someone who's willing to. Even though there's a moratorium on evictions, Devon said tenants may not be aware they need to sign a declaration form to prevent this. There are many ways, he explained, that landlords would use legal ease or lack of information to take advantage of tenants in general. He recommends documenting all interactions with the landlord, and if they did not occur on email or text messages, to write them down and then send them to the landlord to confirm that what's happened. One, just from experience, especially with housing, just because someone is technically legal doesn't by any stretch mean it's right, ethically speaking, Devon said. With this particular company, it sounds like they're doing what landlords often do, which is prey upon a lack of knowledge and information about people's rights. And take that as a grain of salt, especially if you as an investor and you're a landlord, have bills to pay as well. And when it goes to only one side, that's when I'm gonna make a comment about it. Legal, especially being a landlord before, and being a landlord, this is not dealing with the situation that people are in, and you're not always out to just get people out and try to lose legalese. People not paying, you have bills to pay as well, different expenses. I want to keep hammering that point, but just it's two sides to every story, two sides to every coin. Legal court evictions are on hold. Javert Rue's counsel and tenants' rights hotline for MTO to advice, but most of these management companies, they're not necessarily evicting people through courts. They're just evicting people through pressure. So that's why I see a company like Civil would be coming in. The Autonomous Tenants Union, another Chicago-based organization, provided statement advice. The statement noted a surge since March, which requests for help from renters, some who are dealing with illegal eviction threats and others facing legal eviction due to loopholes in both local and federal eviction bans. Civil's marketing language that portrays underwater tenants and homeowners are scammers looking for an excuse to skip out on their obligations is not factually inaccurate. Okay. But plays into a general victim blaming PR myth perpetrated by the real estate industry to justify their exploitative business practices. For a company like Civil to merely exist, the ATU said, is a frank admission that our housing system is predicated on violence. Wow. Okay. You got a lot of views here, but they're covering the story and doing something that I didn't even had an idea that this service was available. And it's just showing you as we continue to move into a different time, and so many people in these moratoriums and forbearances, and all these things are coming due, especially for 2021. And getting as much information and preparing yourself and knowing all these different things, it helps out on both sides of the spectrum. If this video has been any value to you, please subscribe, leave some comments. As always, I'm going to put a link inside the description. Hit the like button. Until my next video, I'm out.